Hello, Black women. I am live on a random Wednesday for your viewing pleasure. Okay, today I want to talk to you about boundaries. Boundaries, your business, your brand, and how showing up authentically in your life, but specifically in your business, can help you make more money. Hello, Black women. I'm all about boundaries in the month of September. I forgot what month we were in, Marissa. Um, because without boundaries, I have found
Yeah.
on my own healing journey that I am serving everyone. I am all over the
Yeah.
place. Everyone can
Mhm.
get a piece of Roshini, and that is not a viable way to create a life that I love. Okay. Boundaries have really helped me hone in on who I am, where I end and begin, and where other people end and begin, my authentic voice, and add clarity. So today we're going to talk to Black women who want to build a brand that is aligned, that has your yeses and your nos contained in it, that feels
Mhm.
more easeful, and that gets you to more money. Okay. I am live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you are watching anywhere, I don't see anyone yet, drop a pineapple emoji in the chat and let me know where you are watching from, even if you watch on the replay. Hey, Mara. Hey, Mara. Nice to see you. All right, you guys. So let's talk about it. Let's heal. I have a guest with me. We have been making our rounds on the internet. Okay. I was just
Yes.
laughing and telling Marissa that I was downstairs ferociously writing an email to somebody named Marissa when I realized I was supposed to be live with another person who is the same person named Marissa. Marissa, please introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm Marissa Price. I am a healing practitioner. I'm helping sensitive, introverted Black women heal from traumatic experiences. My channel is Marissa Price Heals on YouTube, creating safe spaces on the internet for Black women to process the trauma that we have experienced, provide resources, knowledge, information sharing, community building. I'm also the founder of Black Women Freelancers, which is a free community providing support and encouragement on the freelancing journey if you are a current or aspiring Black woman freelancer, because Black women, we have been left out of the freelancing conversation completely often. When we have all the skills, when we have all the talents, we have all the gifts to be able to pursue this journey if entrepreneurship is something that calls to you. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yay. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome. So today's going to be a good conversation because I really wanted to touch on a topic that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, which is boundaries in business, right? I'm a
Mhm.
life coach, and this month I'm focusing on boundaries. And often we talk about what you will do and what you won't do when it comes to your life, like your healing journey. But Marissa and I are putting on a masterclass this weekend called From Passion to Profit, build your online brand from anywhere and make more money. And I was
Mhm.
like, you know what would be interesting? Let's talk about your yes and your no in business. Let's do that. So the first thing I want to do before we even get into like the crux of it, Marissa, is I was thinking about what a brand is and then also my
Mhm.
definition of boundaries, right? So, my definition, and tell me what you think, tell me if you agree with this. My definition of a brand, or well, you don't have to agree with it, but my definition of a brand is your story,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
your clear, delineated, authentic story that links you to the people that you want to serve.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
So it's a bridge, your brand in the context of
Mm.
business, or even if
I like that.
listen, if you're I'm a content creator, so even in the context of a content creator, any brand, but we're talking about business, to me is really your story, right? Your authentic you, who you are, and the value that you bring, the story you
Mhm.
tell us that
Yeah.
links that to the service that you bring to
Yes.
us, to the service. What do you think? What is a brand?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Your unique way of viewing the world. When I first started this journey, I did a webinar called Start Your Online Business from Scratch, which I still have in my link tree if you like to watch that. But yeah, one of the slides I had was your story is kind of like the sparkle, right? The sprinkle on top of the cupcake is your story. And that's what like naturally sets you apart, um, especially in the internet space, right? It showcases like your lived experience, the things that you've been through that have led you on this journey, probably to offer the service or product that you're now offering. It tells your ideal clients that you can be trusted because you've already been through this journey, right? So you're kind of positioning yourself to speak about your transformation, which I think is really important when building a brand. If we think about like these major brands, we can kind of recognize them. They stand out, right, in our minds. So that's basically the same thing. That's how I look at it. How can you naturally, because we're often told that we have to work at it and it has to be hard to differentiate ourselves in the market, kind of releasing that. Your story is what naturally sets you apart. Your skill set is what naturally sets you apart, right? It allows you to attract people who resonate with what you're saying, your unique lived experience on this planet, your unique blueprint that no one else has. All of those elements kind of form your brand as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and you brought up such a good point. We recognize large conglomerates as
Hmm.
brands very easily, and sometimes it's hard for us to see what we offer as a brand. When you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
it's just the story, and these larger companies can curate a heck of a story. And we
Mm-hmm.
allow that story curation to happen, but we also get to own the value we bring, the authenticity we bring, the voice we bring in our own businesses and our own story, and then
Mm-hmm.
use that story to connect us to the people that we serve. I am listening to a book by Gay Hendricks right now. I'm re-listening to it because it was so good. I'm like going over it again. Um, and I love that he says, and I'm gonna totally adopt this and start crediting him. He says that a life that is not let me see my notes. He says a life that's not well lived is a life that's only in service to other people.
Ooh,
He was like, "A life that drains you is a life that is in service to other people. But a
yes.
life that is well lived is in service to other people. A good life," that's what he said. "A good life." Let me get my notes. "Serving others is not a good and fulfilling life. Serving
Wow.
others only. A good life serves you and others simultaneously."
Mm,
It makes
that's
me
very
think
true.
of the live I was on Sunday, I believe, with Rashida, and she was
Hmm.
like, "Are you saying that I have to monetize something that I love? Maybe I don't wanna monetize everything I love." And I was like, "You
Hmm.
don't have to monetize everything you love, but the thing you monetize should be something you love, not something you
Yes.
hate. Something from your story that you love," right? So,
Yeah.
I love that, and I definitely believe that when we start having that mindset shift of what a brand is, then we will understand why boundaries are so important when you are honing your brand and your business, right? So my definition I have lots of definitions of a boundary, but the most helpful definition of a boundary that I've ever heard is what you will do and what you won't do. That's it.
Mm.
Is what you
Hmm.
will do and what you won't do. Not to be mistaken with what other people will do and what other people won't do because that's rules. I think in the last live I did on this page, I made the delineation between a rule and a boundary. A rule is
Yeah.
when you are trying to control another person's actions. If I tell Marissa, don't call me at 9 p.m., that's a rule. If I tell Marissa, if you call me after 9 p.m., I won't pick up the phone, that's a boundary. I can't
Mm.
control Marissa. And I think
Hmm.
a lot of our heartache happens when we try to control other people. I know me, I had to learn that difference because and so
Yes.
having that beginning and end is so crucial to me when it comes to business endeavors because otherwise you lack clarity. What do you think? What would your
Hmm.
definition of a boundary be, Marissa, just in general? And then
Mm.
a boundary when it comes to businesses?
I don't know why self-preservation is coming
Mm,
up, right? So anything that allows me, and I heard this before, like it allows both me and the other person to like be well,
mm.
right? Because a lot of times, like as a recovering people pleaser, it was just about the other person. That was my only thing that I was considering. How is this impacting the other person? And
I
then kind
think
of
that's
like,
what he means, where he
mm-hmm,
says a serving others only is not a good or a fulfilling life, and that's what
yes,
so many of us are told. Black
mm-hmm,
women especially, we are told that sacrifice and service is the best, most fulfilling life, and this person is saying, "No, it's actually not. It's
mm-hmm,
draining." I remember that part of the book, he was
yes,
like, "It drains the living daylights out of you." He was like, "A good life serves you and others simultaneously. You first."
yes, you first. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to, yeah. Ooh, so many times, so many instances, and I've had to like literally rewire my brain around this concept. because those of us who are still healing from childhood trauma, right, a lot of these issues around why it was so difficult for me to establish boundaries was because when I tried to, as a child, because we know we have this perception, right, as children, and people underestimate children all the time. But we know what we need so often. But then when we voice it, it gets pushed back, right? And so that implants a seed that there's something wrong with saying no or establishing this boundary brought harm or like social isolation or some of these things.
Mhm.
And so literally having to rewire my brain, like I'm an adult now and I'm able to basically like reawaken those parts of myself as a child to now like be able to say no, I'm not going to be able to do that, or no, I need to leave this environment because it's not serving me, um, which my younger self knew how to do, and I had forgotten along the way because of all these things that I had encountered, and just now like reawakening that part of me again.
Uh, that Nat Life said, "Woo, Marissa, I think that's my journey to self-preservation."
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the way you show up anywhere is the way you show up everywhere.
Mm.
You may think that you are faking it out for us or masking some more capable version of you, but unless you do intentional work to heal traumas, those traumas that show up in your lived life are going to show up in your business. If you are a overfunctioner in your lived life, you're going to be an overfunctioner in your business. Ask me how I know. I still
Yes.
have to tell myself, girl,
Me too.
relax, like, girl.
Mm-hmm.
If you, as Marissa said, and I love that you said this, if you tried naturally, because kids know how to set boundaries, okay? One of
Yes,
the
they do.
first words we say
Mm-hmm.
is no. We
Mm-hmm.
come out with the boundary on lock. By the time
That's it.
we can't, the first word, we're trying to tell you no. Once we get that tongue and that tooth, we're right? So you come out naturally with a boundary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is unlearned because, as Marissa pointed out, people push back and you learn that what you will do and what you won't do is not something that you get to choose and that will not be honored. You can
Yeah.
show up the same way in your business, you guys. And so
Yes.
this page I talk to Black and West Indian women on healing journeys who are creating lives that they love. And a life
Mm-hmm.
that you love has boundaries in it. And a business that you love will have boundaries in it. Okay, so before I go
Yeah.
on to a few of the other specific ways that boundary shows up in business that I want us to talk about, Marissa, let me go back to the comments. So Mara said hi. Edith said, "Hi, sisters. Hi, thank you for 2 pineapple." You better give us each a pineapple. See, Marissa, we don't even have to share. Thanks for the discussion. Hello. Okay. And then this one I wanted to say. So Nat Life says she's considering the upgrade to do the hot seat, but she's nervous. What Nat is talking about is on this Saturday, Marissa and I are putting on a masterclass called For Passion to Profit. It is for
Mm-hmm.
beginner digital entrepreneurs, and we are going to
Yeah.
talk with you, lead the women for an hour through how to build. I'm going to talk about brands, but we're going to start talking to you about what entrepreneurship is. I'm going to talk to you about how to get clarity on your brand, and then Marissa's going to come and give you some simple systems to get you started, right? Both of us are healing women, both of us are healing practitioners, both of us are healing
Mm-hmm.
advocates, both of us are Black women who treat Black women with loving kindness. Okay.
Yes.
If you
Mm-hmm.
are ever going to get feedback, Nat, we are available. If you want
Yes.
feedback from two women who consider your story something sacred and who will
Mm-hmm.
be honest with you in an attempt to get you to the money, get your
Mm-hmm.
story to the income, and treat you with loving kindness, you can come. Also, I would like to point out to anybody that works with me that nerves is not a reason to stop doing anything because neurologically, nervous, excited, and fearful are pretty much the same feeling. So you can choose to
Mm-hmm.
flip the nerves and still do it anyway. And we
Oh,
welcome you.
interesting.
Say it
Mm-hmm.
again, Marissa.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. Okay. I heard
Okay.
somebody, who was it? Somebody said that they said that it was excitement is fear without the, no, excitement is fear with the breath. That's what they said. And I was like,
Mm.
because
Oh,
I had heard
interesting.
the like brain scan thing. And then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's even better. The other thing too is so what she's saying is after the workshop, which is an hour long, We have an opportunity for women to get 10 minutes of detailed focus coaching on their brand. We call it a hot seat, and that's what she's saying she's nervous to upgrade to.
Mhm.
You are welcome to come, and we will do everything in our power with what you share with us to answer your questions, and nerves are welcome too, okay? We are both
Absolutely.
nervous doing what we do.
Yeah, I'm nervous right now.
But listen, nerves are happening, okay, but I'm here. Alright, so and then the other question that she asked was, let's see, how about monetizing a pain point and, slash learning lesson that you overcame? Would love your input. What
Hmm.
do you think about that, Marissa, before we move on?
Monetizing a pain point.
I think she
Ooh.
asked that question we were talking about your brand is your story,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the
Mm-hmm.
bridge from your story to who you are meant to serve.
Yeah. So I feel like toxic jobs, right? That Dr. Kamani kind of introduced into the ether, and then collaborating with her on the Job Liberation Virtual Summit. I feel like that's a perfect example, right? So both of us using very painful experiences to both heal ourselves because it's a healing process to be able to like understand what happened and process, and share, right? Because there is no shame around what we experience. That is the shame of the people who harmed us, and then basically transforming that into an offer, where we've been able to basically attract, I think, over 600 Black women, in total over the past 2 years with the two summits that we've co-hosted, worldwide. Seeing that, unfortunately, this is a trend that we experience in the workplace. It's a pattern of harm and mistreatment, but that was by us sharing our stories, sharing our journey. That's how I started my YouTube channel. It's just basically like turning on my camera and just processing out loud what was happening to me. And then by that, other people from around the world basically sharing that the same thing happened to them. And then that led to me getting the idea, like if we hosted a summit, and then partnering with Dr. Kamani to host that, and now having this impact in this way to generate income that really aligns with our values, our passions, allows us to heal, process what we've been through, and then make a like larger impact in the world. So I think that's a perfect example.
Yeah, Nat, I would say that every offer is monetized pain or lesson learned. I think every offer is that. I don't think we're looking at it that way, but every offer is typically a problem you know how to solve for a past version of yourself. And the reason that you can solve it is it was a problem, and it's a problem because it was causing you pain. So when I saw
Mhm.
your question, I was like, honestly, that is the whole crux of the matter, right? Most of us have gone through something, have solved something, has learned something that we didn't know before or that we were experiencing before. And we reach back to tell, remember, the story is the bridge to the person you're supposed to serve. The person you're supposed to serve is often a past version of you. Right?
It's true.
A woman
Yeah.
who's experiencing the problem you already know how to solve. A woman like
Mhm.
this Saturday, where I've been on the internet for 20 years, and I'm gonna tell you something you don't have to learn in 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Marissa keeps emailing me. I don't know why.
I
Every
do
week,
because I'm
Marissa
mad.
email. She really going through it. Marissa email me every week or text me every week and be like, "You know how long it took me to learn this stuff I'm about to tell these people on Saturday?"
Hmm.
I'll be like, so that's what I'm saying. I'm like, and it's just a reframe to answer your question. I think in every offer, in every business, even product. I mean, it might sound silly, but like people come up with a certain beverage. The beverage market is pretty saturated. People come up with a certain beverage because there's a problem they want to solve. But in our
Hmm.
case, a lot of the offers that we have in our digital entrepreneur space when it comes to healing or coaching or anything like that that you have to offer, whatever it is a problem. It's a pain point that you
Yeah.
experience that you know the solution for, and you can provide the shortcut to one of us or to anyone who wants it. You said getting
Hmm.
teary. Okay. Well, yeah. So, I mean, and I think that's part of the mindset shift that we want to continually offer because both Marissa and I are teaching what we know from a place of figuring it out on our own.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't wanna say on our own because I don't believe in that, like, clearly researching it from the but, like, having
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
piece it together and not necessarily sitting down. And so, yeah, it's pain points. It's
Yeah.
monetization
Hmm.
of lessons learned. Everything is. A book, if you pick up a book, that person went through something to be able to sit down and compile all those thoughts into that book for you.
That's true.
That's just how it is. Yeah.
And what you said, like, it's often a past version of ourselves that we're now offering this lesson, this service, this product,
Mhm.
because we've been through it. We did the transformation, but there are other people who are now in the place that we once were, and so you're providing like the knowledge. You're bridging that gap, right, between where you once were and now where you are now, to people who are still on that journey.
Yeah, and Stephanie Perry and also Dr. Kamani always say that they love a shortcut.
Hmm.
This message that we have to start from scratch and pull ourselves up and be, individualists, and everything we know has to come from some magical fount of us, which makes absolutely no sense, is a trick, because in one lived life, there's no way that we are going to be able to learn all the things.
No.
Nothing is wrong with the easy way to do a thing. And that is a unlearning that Black women have to participate in nowadays, because there are so many messages that come at us specifically that tell us
Hmm.
that struggle is our portion. You get to find somebody who already went through it, they already solved the problem. They already put their hand on the stove and burned it, and they tell you how to not burn your hand. Like, you just get to have the easy way. It's just a fact. It has proven to
Hmm.
be true in my life. It has proven to be true when I access the other person's story through their business. Because every
Hmm.
Black woman, every person, but every Black woman, let's say Nat, suppose you start a business. I would access your story through your offer.
Mm.
I'm
I
coming to
love that.
Nat, whatever problem she solved that I need, right? I'm coming to
Hmm.
her and say, "Girl, here's my money. Tell me how to solve
Right.
the problem so I don't have to put my hand on this hot stove." And if you simplify it to that, it makes a whole lot more sense. And I'm so glad that we're talking about boundaries, because one of the reasons I love this conversation, and one of the reasons boundaries has changed my life, because I joke around about saying that boundaries are like a fence, and I didn't have any fence. So everybody was up in there in my life. Like, I had the good, the bad, and the ugly. I had no discernment. And in business, I was
Mm.
operating the same way, Marissa, because how you are anywhere is how you are everywhere. Okay. So let's talk about boundaries and your audience, right? Boundaries and who you are meant to serve.
Hmm.
Uh I personally have found that a lot of us Black women, we come from cranked up nervous systems that tell us that we have to be excellent, and we want to serve everyone,
Hmm.
everybody. Okay. We
Hmm.
we are out here over functioning, going at it, and we want to be of service to all the people. But I've also
Yeah.
found that when that happens, you lack boundaries. Because a boundary, remember, is what you will do and what you won't do. And that applies to your business and your brand too, you guys. So you have to have a business that is defined by a beginning and an end. Can you talk, Marissa, about any particular shift you've had in your mind about deciding who your audience is, and
Mm.
that you weren't going to necessarily serve everyone? How you got there, like where you started, where you are now, and how adding boundaries into your business has helped you clarify what you bring as your offer.
That's a really good question.
Thank you, Marissa.
S- so I started off this journey of digital entrepreneurship as a virtual assistant. And I think one of the first boundaries I had was I knew that I wanted to work with Black women, digital entrepreneurs, because I was seeing, having a background in economic development, I was seeing the growth that was happening in this space as we see like the digital economy just continuing to expand. But Black women being left out of the conversation. And that made me mad, right? So leaning into that and allowing that to establish the boundary around my audience, which is very helpful, as you mentioned, to clarify who you want to work with, right? So, right off the bat, when I first started my business, I was marketing to Black women digital entrepreneurs who needed help in their business, who are also interested in ease, versus like maybe people who are more interested in like hustling, right? As we're taught how business has to look. I knew that's not what I wanted to do as a virtual assistant. So establishing those values, I think my own values was very important for me to start with. And that allowed me to generate marketing materials, content, identify pain points that people may be experiencing to then utilize my services as the gap, right? So if you're experiencing overwhelm, if you need assistance, if you have trouble asking for help, here's how I can lend my assistant as a virtual assistant who is also has this background in economic development, transitioning from the corporate space to be able to basically help build the businesses of Black women digital entrepreneurs. And from there, establishing boundaries as I feel like I've been on this personal journey of getting to know myself, discontinuing my virtual assistant services and pivoting into becoming a healing practitioner, right? So this has looked like establishing boundaries around who I work with now. So sensitive, introverted Black women who are healing from traumatic experiences, who are interested in, I guess, like healing outside of the Western way of healing as we're
Mhm.
taught, because my healing style is very eclectic. So I'm bringing in different practices that I've learned being trained as a social worker, as well as my ancestral gifts, right, and downloads that I receive. So I know basically when I'm marketing that people who are more interested in traditional therapy services, right, clinical settings, they're not my ideal audience. Like they're not my target clientele that I'm seeking with my
Mhm.
messaging. And so being very clear around that, building boundaries, both to preserve myself as a business owner. So you don't have that point of friction if someone, for instance, is looking for clinical treatment. That's not something I offer.
Correct.
Being very clear around that when you're doing like something like building your landing page, creating content on social media, going live, talking with people, with potential clients, being clear about who you serve, why you serve, your story. Again, sprinkling in your story is so important to be able to then like essentially like vet people who are coming through your door. Um, which is something again I've had to also learn on this personal journey of healing. So I feel like they've kind of combined in that
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely. That's what I mean about your story being the anchor in the middle of your brand. A boundary you guys remember is what you will do and what you won't do. And I love that you brought up that you have sensitive and introverted because I've noticed the shift in your like used to being like, these are who I'm talking to. And I'm like, that's good. I'm also impressed that you started so clear on who your audience was because I have been
Yeah.
let me give y'all a different story of the Wild Wild West. So Reshni's just been on the internet with absolutely no intention when she first started 20 years ago. And I was just talking to whoever. Of course, I was talking to Black women because it was natural hair, but I never actually said, I'm talking to Black women, right? It was just
Mhm.
understood because I was talking to Black women about hair stuff. And so when my content started to shift away from our hair, my audience started to grow into a lot of other types of people. And specifically when I was doing a lot of entertainment content,
Mm.
I had everybody. I mean, even the other day, I had a video go viral on TikTok, and the majority of the people that followed me are, as they say, not me. I did not say this, so don't come at me. They are non-practicing white. They're the white people who are sick of the other white people, and they in there denouncing their race in my comments, and I'm just like, so I have had so many people come at me on the
Mhm.
internet over the years as I was finding my own voice, as I was figuring out my own story and living it in real time, as I was figuring out the bridge between what was happening in my real life and like how I served people. And they weren't
Mhm.
all Black women. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago. It was not that long ago that I was like, I think I need to say Black and West Indian women. Like, I need people
Wow.
to know this is who I'm talking to again, even though I started out with that inherently being my audience and also the people who are drawn to me because your story is a bridge. And the more authentic you are, the more your people know that that's who they're looking for. They can find you,
Mhm.
right?
That's very
I
true.
started to really incorporate Black and West Indian women into my everything, like you said. Who am I
Mhm.
talking to? I knew who I was talking to, but I will not lie and say that when I had the larger audience blow up in the entertainment space, for a while, I did kind of think, I mean, I'm just talking to anybody that thinks this is funny. But then
Mhm.
it got a little willy-nilly, you know what I mean? And I didn't like how that felt.
Mm.
It felt very inauthentic. I wasn't too
Yeah.
keen and too happy about my comment section sometimes. People be sliding into my inbox telling me that I'm a race. I don't want it. So my brain eventually had to have that boundary of like, what am I doing? I am speaking to Black and West Indian women. And I say West Indian, you guys, because there are West Indian women who are not Black. And
Mhm.
I am very aligned with them, okay? I got them in my membership because I'm from the Virgin Islands, so I don't make that delineation, but listen, I had to get clear, and so that was something that was powerful in my brand, Marissa, because I went around the world and had to, like, land back to, I am speaking to women who tend to not be that pleased with portions of their life, right? We got
Mm.
a bit of a
Mhm.
depression thing going on, we got some saddies in there as opposed to baddies,
Yeah.
okay? Um, we got some
Yes.
saddies because that's a through line that's been on my platform for a long time. And even if they
Mhm.
don't have depression as part of their actual diagnosis, the life just ain't life in the way they want life to be. And they're trying to create
Mhm.
something different. And so
Yeah.
I want the people listening to think about how a boundary, what you will do and what you won't do, helps you clarify who you're talking to, which is your audience, right? Okay, so the next thing, and you kind of touched on this
Yeah.
already. I have my little notes so I don't forget. Boundaries help you clarify how you're talking, right?
Mhm.
Voice,
Mhm.
how you actually
Ooh.
convey your
Yes.
story to other people, right? I'm gonna start with
Yeah.
this one so you can see what I mean. And I said this yesterday when we filmed with Stephanie, I believe. So there was, because I've been on the internet for so long, being seen trying, there have been mishaps in me finding myself. And there was an era where I was trying to be like the aspirational content creator. We all were getting like ring lights. And we remember I told you we were all putting on makeup and putting getting the girl, I know what he was doing. It was a lot of extra stuff, okay? There was a lot of extra. There was a lot of, like, aspirational content, and I was trying to do that.
Yeah.
And as time went on, I realized not only was that inauthentic, people were not vibing with that version of me because it wasn't me. I am a
Mm.
down to earth friend in your head, very casual speaking, kind of quippy person who talks on the internet. And
Mhm.
I had to, there was a intentional moment, Marissa, where I had to be like, "Oh, what will I do? What will I not do? What's my yes in how I show up in this brand and what's my no in how I show up in this brand?" And I thought,
Mm.
I will not be doing anything aspirational anymore. I will always show up looking like I just cut the camera on and started talking to you, whether I are base or abound. Today I'm cute. Tomorrow I got a bonnet on. Today you're in my bathroom. Tomorrow you're in my kitchen. I'm chopping it up like we're on FaceTime. And that's how I'm going to get this message across. The other thing too that boundaries helped me clarify was realizing that part of my how, my chosen voice was, or like my chosen brand voice meant that I didn't have to do all the other things. I didn't
Yeah.
have to jump on every trend. I didn't have to, just because everybody else did a thing meant I didn't have to do a thing. Like it isn't like, and if
Mhm.
you pay attention to me on the internet, there are so many I just be ignoring stuff, Marissa. But trends go by, coaches are supposed to do this. This is how you're
Mhm.
supposed to do it. And like I said, a boundary is a yes or a no, is what you will do. And it has cut through the noise of how I'm showing up. I show up simple, I show up easeful, I show up silly.
Yes.
I show up like you talking to your friend. And that's on purpose
Yeah.
because the other
Mhm.
version doesn't feel aligned. Okay, so can you tell me an example for you, Marissa, in your brand where um you either felt like you had an inauthentic brand voice and and you had to shift, or if you can't think of that, or a time when your how, like a boundary, how you decided to show up gave you clarity and gave your brand more power and more reach?
Mm. I think the first one, yes. Yes. There are still times when I'm like, I do stuff like I attend a webinar and then I
Mhm.
try it with my own brand. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that felt so inauthentic. I can't do that again.
Like
Um,
something they tell you to do?
yeah. Yeah, as I'm learning about stuff like sales funnels, which I'll be speaking about at our masterclass,
Mhm.
right? There are different pieces of advice that people in the business community like to give to us so often. And I have found specifically like in my community, with Black women freelancers, a lot of these things do not align with us just as people, right? They don't align with our values and the way that we view business, as we've spoken about. I view business in a very like communal sense of me like pouring back in and receiving that back. Not so much, not at all, as extraction as it's taught to us in these business communities. And so there will be times where I'll try something out just because I'm curious. I'm like, let me put this message on it. Let me try this part of it and see how it works. But my spirit is set up to where if something feels inauthentic as a truth teller, like it's immediately gonna be like, I can't do that again. And so just being able to recognize that feeling and then pivot in a different direction, give myself permission. Like maybe I know this better than this person who is claiming to be an expert
Well,
at this
well,
thing,
well, well,
right? Or in a
well.
position of authority that's telling me that I have to do it this way in order for it to count or be legitimate. And just completely releasing that idea, right? I actually knew the way to go this entire time. And so leaning back into that. And I think part of this digital entrepreneurship journey is play and exploration, right? Playing around with different things, seeing what lands. And it also gives you an opportunity to better learn yourself. Because then I can be like, okay, I tried that before, that didn't gel with me. And so moving forward, I'm going in a different direction. I'm leaning more into what I always knew, right? Community, cooperative economics, all these things instead of extraction, as we're taught business has to look like under capitalism. Um, and so, yeah, there are still times when that happens. There have been things that I've launched where I've been like, I could have worded that differently. Um, and it's just more information to go forward, right? There's no like blame or anything that I'm carrying. I've learned to release that and embrace
Mhm.
this more of a learning journey along the way. But just to know that when I have that feeling, it's not the end of the world, but it's also guiding me towards things that feel more aligned for me in the future.
Mara says, I think for me, I'm afraid of people seeing the real me.
Mm.
Earlier, Nat said something. It wasn't her. It might have been the afraid or nervous coming to the master class in the hot seat. By the way, you guys, I dropped a link on each platform in the comments to our masterclass if you're interested. It got cut off when I dropped it the first time, so the second comment has the link. It's bit.ly/build your online brand, and it's in the information box wherever you are. So we'll tell you more about it later, but if you're interested, it's in the comments. Marissa, can you this is what came up because you just said something that was so important. Let me see if I could get the thought. You said that you look at it as an opportunity to play and explore. And what came
Mm-hmm.
up in my mind while I was listening to you and while I was looking at Mara's comment was something about shame. Like my brain was
Mm.
like, I feel like our stories, mm, we are given messaging that showing up as our real self
Mm-hmm.
is a invitation. I don't know if I'm getting this out for shame. And we are
Mm.
afraid of being evaluated in that way because our belief might be that we come up short. Does that
Yeah,
make sense? And
it does.
so I heard you saying, and this might not have anything to do with boundaries, but listen, it's going to help. I heard you saying that part of what you had to release was that, like, yeah, I put this thing up, it felt inauthentic. I'll just learn and move forward. Or, yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
out here being seen trying, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just fix it and do something different. And like
Yeah.
the contrast of reading Mara's comment. So I don't know, with that in mind, or if that doesn't work for you, you can chuck it. Can you respond to this comment about Mara saying, I think for me, I'm afraid of people seeing the real me when it comes to business or just in general?
Yeah, I think for me, I also dealt with that a lot first I mean, when I first started my business, right? This was a huge thing that I was moving through, and it was because I had been bullied, right? So a lot of
Mm,
these things are from wounds that have actually occurred in our lives when we have tried to show up authentically, and someone has told us something is wrong with us or tried to like marginalize us,
right.
make fun of us. So these things are rooted in real experiences. I think what changed for me, so I was in the Garden, which is Alicia Renice's
Right.
community
Mhm.
for Black women recovering their creativity. I was able to practice in a safe place, sharing business ideas, sharing my book. And I knew within that community that no one was going to shame me, right? All the things that I had experienced before. And so that kind of put me at ease and allowed me to create and like turn on the creative flow again, which has been essential as an entrepreneur, right? So I think if you can get into a community where you feel safe, where your nervous system feels at ease, to put forward the ideas that you have, to show your authentic self and receive, and know like 10 out of 10 you're going to receive positive, affirming, uplifting feedback, maybe even before you transition onto social media. A private community, I know Mara you're part of, Black women freelancers, but yeah, that can be essential to have that safe place, like a cocoon, which is the title of my book, but to like experiment, to rebuild self-confidence after these experiences, to then, once you have that, launch it out into the world, right, to your ideal client base. So that may be helpful. That's something I experienced too.
I just thought that a boundary in your business can also be who you surround yourself with, right?
Ooh,
Right?
that's
Because
good.
if you got messaging from childhood or even current systems, jobs, all this place that says that you are not enough and that you don't get to fail, although fail is part of trying, so it's integral.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you fail, you're a failure. And all of this inundating message that has validly resulted, like Marissa says, in a feeling of like your nervous system reacting because you feel unsafe.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to reintroduce safety. It's a valid
Yes.
feeling. So instead of beating yourself up for feeling something that's valid, you just probably need to learn how to notice that you are having a valid experience and then put the boundary in place that you are going to put yourself in places that feel safe. I was just listening to Stephanie Perry talk earlier on her video and what was the topic? I forgot the topic. It was on her page. It was on her second page. And she was talking about
Oh
how
yeah, I
she
saw
just
that. Uh-huh.
listen, she was like, "I be around the blacks, okay? I don't have time for the rest of it." She was Stephanie
Yeah.
she's so
Yeah.
unapologetic.
Yeah.
Stephanie was like, "I don't have it in me, okay? Black
Mm-hmm.
women." And I'm not saying that you have to make that choice, but what I'm saying is it's a valid thing, right? So Mara
Yes.
sharing that she experienced abuse. So your nervous system is functioning as intended. This is why I was telling Nat,
Mm-hmm.
you might want to come talk to Marissa and I because what we not about to do is drag you for filth because we don't do that with black women. You're going to have a safe evaluation of your idea, possibly for the first
Yes.
time ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what your lived experience says, right? If you're a black woman that wants people who value and hold healing, wholeness, reclamation of self and safety as divine and sacred, hello, right here. Build your online
Mm-hmm.
brand. Okay. We're not going to do that. But
No.
Mara and anyone else listening, you might be having a valid response. Your
Mm-hmm.
body is just trying to keep you safe. Your mind's just trying to keep you safe. If you are trying to launch out into a business experience and you're like, I don't want anybody to see me, just sit with that. Ask
Yeah.
yourself where you got it from. If you got it from a valid place, validate it. And then ask yourself
Mm-hmm.
what you need. And what you might need is to seek out places where you can safely express, safely explore, safely fail, but not be called a failure, and then get to what you're trying to do, which is potentially build a brand, but if not, build a life that you love. Build a life that you love. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the next thing I wanted you to talk about real quick when it comes to business. Let me go to Francesca's comment first.
Mm-hmm.
She said a year-long boundary I set last year was adopting a word of the year. I love words of the year. Okay. Flow was my word last year. If things, people, projects didn't flow into my life, the answer is no. Okay, bars. If it
Mm-hmm.
don't flow, the answer is no. Hello.
Hey.
You gotta love it. No, I love that for you, Francesca, because
Yeah.
it's your life. That's the other thing that a lot of black women seem to not be able to. She said in 2025, her word is listen. Mine is audacity, Francesca. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
out here wilding out. I keep telling people I'm either going to end up on the cover of a magazine or I'm going to end up in jail. I haven't ended up on the cover of a magazine, but I have ended up on a video shoot, right?
Come on.
For a
Mhm.
brand thing. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, this might be close enough. This, listen, I got
Yes.
flued out. I'm not okay. I'm trying to avoid jail. But no, but the idea that as Black women, we have to struggle to produce value for other people. We don't,
Ooh.
we not, listen, that's a whole nother thing. That's the other reason why Marissa and I are doing this class, this master class,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
a different way is possible, as Stephanie says. We are unprogramming ourselves from things that don't flow, right?
Yes.
Constantly showing up and self betraying in your business is something where you have no boundaries. You have no yes and no, no, no. Why? This is something I had. Tell me if you had this happen, Marissa. I had to ask
Mhm.
myself one time, why am I making something that feels bad? Why am I
Mm.
creating a business in the back end that does not feel good to Roshini? I think I was having that thought already
Mhm.
because I was over functioning and doing something and probably being a little inauthentic and thinking, well, this is how people say you're supposed to do it. So I have to do it like all of that, which is why I want to
Mhm.
talk about boundaries and creating something that's authentically, clearly you. You're who you're,
Mhm.
And I think at some point I went to it might have been an Exodus summit. And I remember Rashida like saying something like that. Like she was like, why am I making something that I don't like? And I was like, it was like confirmation. I was like, bet. If it don't
Yes.
flow, it gotta go.
That's
Because
it.
this is your lived life. And you are not a tool in a system. You are not a tool for somebody else who doesn't look like you usually to get rich. You get
Yes.
to benefit from your own skills, tools, and abilities,
Mhm.
right? So the last thing I want to talk about, which goes with what you're going to talk about a bit in the master class, is boundaries and your systems or like clarity on what you do, like what you do,
Mhm.
right? So I wrote
Mhm.
down that overwhelm, all of the choices, making a complex system in your business that you can't maintain, over offering, all of that is a choice. It's an option for us. But what, Marissa, are some simple boundaries, I'll call them, that you think someone listening could put in place right now when it comes to creating systems for their business? Yes
Mm.
or no, right? I know you're going to talk about simple systems. So I guess the
Mhm.
question is about simplifying what you actually do on the back end of your business so you're not
Mhm.
building something that's crushing you. What can she
Yes.
do?
I would say the first thing that's coming up is to start with the free plans. If you're just beginning, sometimes we think we need to have the pro or the premium
Mhm.
of everything, which is going to sink your business before you even get like revenue coming in. So starting with the free plans, right? So PayPal is an invoicing tool I still use actually, but it's free. They take a portion of the total fee that you bill clients for. I think it's around 2 to 3% that they take out, but the tool itself is free. And so starting on the free plan, right, using Gmail, you can start off with to communicate with clients. When it comes to things like funnels, starting off on the free plans again, Kit has an amazing free plan which was called Convert Kit
Mhm.
before, but I just transitioned onto the paid plan a few months ago actually. But you can establish boundaries around your expenses. I think that's really important when first
Yeah.
starting off. um, and just utilizing the tools that are available to you, because there are so many free tools out there. Canva is huge, right? To begin to create um, posts that resonate with the messaging to your ideal client audience. Um, so I'm trying to think of other things. Expenses is huge when it comes to boundaries in your systems. I did start a project management tool. So I use ClickUp, which I just
Mm.
started a few months ago. I was so hesitant to implement a project management tool because of the trauma that I experienced in the workplace
Oh,
that I came
no.
from. Yes, I didn't have one. So everything was living up here or on my calendar app, which was like driving me nuts. So to begin to establish like boundaries, I think for yourself around your time, because I
Mhm.
was blurring both my personal obligations and my business obligations because everything was on my calendar app. So the
Yeah.
more that you can begin to like separate those when you first start off, I think that's really that can be really helpful, so that you don't get to a place where everything is on one app, as was the case with me, and then I had to slowly like separate them. If you can start off by having project tasks in a separate app like ClickUp or Asana, so that you can return to your business basically like you're giving it that credibility to yourself,
Mhm.
right? So when I log on now, I see my tasks in one place and they're not all just floating around in my head or on my
Yeah.
calendar app. So I'm showing up to my business, and also I have my business name on my project tracking
Yeah.
system. So time, expenses, I think is going to be important. Um, your energy levels. So not
Nice.
pushing yourself past a certain point when you need to rest, which can be very difficult to do as a freelancer or entrepreneur, because there's no one around you, right, telling you to take a break, telling you to stop. And so that's like a deeper unlearning process that I'm still in. As a lifelong overachiever, right, straight A student, I'm having to be like, no, I'm building something that feels good. For the first time in my life, I'm able to like take the reins back when it comes to this, and I'm not going to recreate something that has harmed me in so
Yeah.
many job environments.
Who you work with? Imma tell
Mm-hmm.
you this, this is an exclusive. Okay, so Marissa and I are doing this together, and this we you are my BA,
Mm-hmm.
but in that way, I was, like, giving you tasks. I think this
Yeah.
is the first time we're, like, working together as peers, right?
Yeah.
We work
Mm-hmm.
really well together, and I
Yeah.
look at Marissa, like, we're going back and forth, putting together the stuff, and I think, I feel like this is 2 healing people that were straight A students. Like, there's
Yes.
something about how we interact with each other that's very, like, pop, 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 pop. But here's the thing, you guys, and I wanna share this. When you said that, I thought a boundary around who you will work with, because
Mm.
one of the reasons I feel like Marissa and I work together is we both show up in excellence, but we also have a lot of grace for healing. The workshop
Mm-hmm.
was going to be a different date.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote to Marissa way back and was like, "Yeah, life is frantic. Can we move the date?" And that is a very healing Black girl move. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I didn't stress myself out and just frantically overcommit and then show up unraveled and in pieces, right? Which is what I would have had to do because I was afraid of authentically telling Marissa, "Girl, give me a little bit more time." You know what I mean? Is
Mm-hmm.
because I chose somebody who I wanted to work with. That's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that came to mind. I was like, who you work with, don't recreate the struggle you came out of if you are building a brand. And you
Yes.
will find yourself trying to recreate the struggle that you came out of. So
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, that's just an example of like putting together this workshop with Marissa has felt easeful
Yes.
because I intentionally said yes to something that feels aligned, to someone that feels aligned, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to some other reason that I would work with somebody and then be resenting them or snarling. I don't know what I'd be doing, girl. But I'm just saying it's an example of your yes and your no, what you will do and what you won't do. I have to tell myself, Roshini, do not create something that mirrors the struggle that you were in. Do not create a business that's overcomplicated. Do not create a business that you're promising everything and then you're up all night and you can't get your rest. This that we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um Keep it at a pace that works for you and works for others. Like I said here, serving others only is not a good and fulfilling life. It drains you. A good life
Right.
serves you and others simultaneously. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that you brought up simple systems, things like Canva, etc. Let me tell y'all something. I have been using Photoshop since the 90s. I
Mm-hmm.
am good at Photoshop. I taught myself Final Cut Pro. I have not opened Photoshop or Final Cut Pro in years. Photoshop in years, Final Cut Pro in months. You know why? Canva and CapCut.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it simple, y'all. Even the
Keep it
people
simple.
who are
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm gonna tell you what, some of us who are educated, I learned Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop in college, okay? I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago. That's how your girl gonna be 50, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I could go work for somebody and use Photoshop for their like I'm that good at Photoshop. sometimes we think we have to be at that level, but in 2025, the playing field for business has been flattened
Yes.
out to
Yes.
open up doors for people who can do something simple. Canva. I used to joke
Yes.
around, Marissa, and say, "If I don't open Photoshop every day, life is ended." Because I love that program, okay? I just do Canva. I can do most of what I need. I keep it simple. I chose
Mhm.
my coaching platform because it was simple. I was on a platform that was stressing me out. It was also ugly, and I like cute things, but it was stressing me out. It had a lot of functionality. It had a lot Listen, let me stop for a second here to give some love to Gen X and to Photoshop. We're gonna stop. We're gonna pause for the cause. Hello? Come on now. Have you had your mammogram? How's perimenopause teaching you? Okay, let's get off. Anyway, right? So you guys, a boundary could be I'm going to create something that feels like ease. I'm not gonna stress myself out with all these overcomplicated things. I'm gonna use the free plans. And then when the
Yes.
money has come in from my business, if something is of value, I might upgrade.
Mhm.
But I used the free plan on Canva for a long time, and then I
Me
finally was
too.
like, "Girl, just give these people your money. You in here every day, okay? You
Yes.
in you're in here every single day." Okay, so, you hear us talking about it. Marissa and I are putting on a masterclass this Saturday, September the 13th. It is called From Passion to Profit, Build Your Online Brand to Generate Money from Anywhere. Why? Because
Mhm.
Marissa and I are both digital entrepreneurs and we generate money. I am in I have to come up with something like Stephanie, where she's like exotic Dover, Delaware. I need to come up with something. Marissa needs to help me because Marissa is actually from up the road, but she's not up the road right now. She is in Mexico. I am from exotic I am in exotic St. Louis, which still qualifies as anywhere, okay? The money's coming in St. Louis too. It's coming in Mexico. So anyway, we are going to have a hour-long workshop. It starts at 12 EST on Saturday the
Mhm.
13th. We are going to be talking you through digital entrepreneurship, what it is, and then I'm going to jump right in and help you clarify your brand, your why, your voice, who you're talking to, what you
Mhm.
have. What do you have to offer them that can get you to the money? Okay, this is a journey that I have been on for years, and I feel like I finally have some clarity after
Mhm.
learning all of these things, like we said, on my own. You don't have to learn it on your own. Come get the shortcut. And then Marissa is going to hip you to simple systems, funnels, um, and marketing that also help you start your business. It is very beginner friendly. It is very
Yes.
healing focused. If you
Mhm.
have ever sat back and said, I see people on the internet somehow doing this, how are they generating income? What? I don't know. I wish somebody would put it in one place in an easy way that I could get started. We have put it in one place in an easy way that we can get started. I have dropped the link in the comment section. It's bit.ly/build your online brand. It's on the screen as well as in the information box of the video. After the masterclass, there are opportunities to upgrade for the hot seat. Hot seat is 10 minutes of individual coaching on your brand. So if you have an idea that you need us to help you with, both Marissa and I will be able to. And if you already have a business and it started and you need some help in adjusting your brand or your system, you can ask us those questions too. Um, Let me see. Let me go back in my comments here. At the outset, did you feel a level of patience with yourself with your brand? No. At the
Mm.
outset, I
No.
didn't see so Marissa and I both have a little different, which is great. I love that we have like varied experiences. I was
Mhm.
on the internet and I was brand free. There was no brand. I didn't understand that I was a brand. I was just sharing with community. So my intention for coming on the internet way back in the day, Gen X way back now. That's what it feels like. Was just community. I
Mhm.
started sharing my story. Remember I told you the brand is the story. I started sharing my story on forums like Naturality and Faki that moved to a hand-coded website that was Roshini.net. Then it moved to blogs when blogs showed up because I was doing it before blogs. And then in the blog comments, people were like, "You're funny. You're funny. You should get on YouTube." And I didn't know what YouTube was. And so then it moved to video. And then I figured out, oh my God, I love this. I love this medium. None of that was anything I could feel patience with. I wasn't building a brand. I was just making friends with my internet friends which is why, you guys, nowadays, I had to go around the block and come all the way back to Roshini, your brand voice is your internet friend because that's where you started. I was chopping it
Yeah.
up with my friend, right?
Mhm.
Y'all been my friend, so I'm just chopping it up, right? I think you even said it up above, Nat. You said something about where is it? Doo 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 doo. You said something about my personality or something, feeling a certain way. Oh, I definitely feel that way with you, Rushni. Your personality and presentation on screen feels so natural and cozy because it's me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only some. Okay, here's the thing. Everything on the internet is slightly curated. Okay. Before I sat down, I didn't have this necklace on. I had on a different pair of earrings. I was downstairs ferociously typing an email to Marissa when I was supposed to be upstairs talking to Marissa. So, I mean, in the sense of like what I look like is curated right now.
Mhm.
It's not exactly my most authentic self, but the reason why it feels that way to you, Nat, is because my choice of showing up is I don't have the bandwidth to try to show up as somebody else. I don't have it. I was tired, y'all. I got a whole kid downstairs. I own 3, 4 wheelchairs. Okay, I can deadlift a 80-pound kid. I don't have time to be trying to be perfect for y'all. Y'all gonna get this healing, and y'all gonna get me running up the stairs and being honest. I'm just gonna run up the stairs and be like, "Hey, y'all almost missed me. Y'all gonna get y'all gonna get this for real healing. Okay? This is real life." So yeah, that's why it feels that way. And that's an intentional choice. I had to
Mhm.
let go. I had to put a boundary around like
Yes.
my brand voice and be like, girl, everybody else is doing it aspirational and perfected. You're doing it real. Just be real,
Yes.
Rushni. I made an intentional choice. Stop struggling to cram yourself into a version of you that actually is not you, thinking that's how it's supposed to be. Just be yourself. And the more I've shown up as Rushni, the more I've been authentic, the more my brand connects with the people I'm supposed to serve, the more money I'm making.
Yeah.
It's just that way. So anyway, before we go, Marissa, is there anything that you'd like to say about boundaries or just in general before we
Mm. I think,
or about our event?
yeah, I think it's important to give yourself grace and patience on this journey. A lot of us are doing this while healing, right at the same time. These deeper wounds of visibility, being seen, what that has meant for us in the past. I think refraining from self gaslighting yourself, right? Around like, why can't I just do this? Why can't it be as easy as all these like business coaches out there make it appear to be? The fact is that we're healing from trauma a lot of the times as we're also building our brands. And so, if you can be the most compassionate person with yourself, that's going to bleed out, right? People are going to be able to see you expressing that level of compassion with yourself. And then it has this like ripple effect. It gives
Mhm.
other people permission to also show up authentically, also reveal their stories little by little, right? And then that's how we heal collectively. I think that's really the magical part of this workshop that we're hosting is that it is centered in healing, right? It's very much like sharing your journey authentically, building your brand, connecting with clients who resonate. I think I shared on Stephanie's channel, right? I work with sensitive, introverted Black women healing from trauma. That is me. And so I don't have to
Get
show
more
up as this.
specific. Wait a minute. I need more adjectives, Marissa. I want more adjectives. I want to hone it down. Y'all naturally happy people get away from me. I want the saddies.
Right, so I don't have to like show up as this inauthentic person or like put on this persona as I'm trying to peel away after being in corporate environments for a long time. um, I have to show up authentically as me sharing my healing journey in order to connect with my clients,
Correct.
right? And so if you can view it like that, the more you heal, the more authentic you comes out, the more your authentic clients will be drawn to you, they'll be attracted to you. I think that's how we've both built our online communities, right? Our channels,
Yes,
our social
and
media
also
profiles. Hmm.
yes, and they will recognize you and you will recognize them because
Yes.
when you are inauthentic, you can attract a client that feels misaligned. And now
Yes.
it's struggle again. Now we struggling, and I don't
That's
wanna
really how
struggle,
I know.
right? The other
Yes.
thing I was
Yes.
thinking about is there are so many I sit back and watch. I've been on the internet for a really long time, you guys, and I'm definitely an observer of people. There are so many people who have brands and platforms that in some season, in full or in part, was that aspirational version of their brand. And in more recent years, with all the stuff going on, they have come into like more authenticity and their story is often I watch this happen over and over. Their story is often I unraveled, okay? There was so much pressure holding up this entire brand that the reason y'all haven't seen me for 6 months or a year is because I stopped doing everything and I moved to Paris. I cut all my
Mhm.
hair off and I gave up on it. Actually, let me talk about my mommy issues because I was exhausted trying to tell y'all I was so perfect all the time. And I'm always like my brain is always like
Mhm.
everybody the amount of emotional psychological like
Mhm.
energy it takes to maintain an inauthentic story
It's too much.
is
Mhm.
crushing people and it's
Mhm.
time to stop and
Yeah.
thinking that that's a requirement is part of why we are having workshops like this and platforms like this to show black women it is not a
Mhm.
we're showing up. What did art AI art said? She said you said you sub, by the way. Hi, welcome. Okay, I'm a little pineapple obsessed. You'll get into it. Okay, wait. Um, showing up a little messy. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Yes.
that's me. And I want the woman who's showing up a little messy to be like, that's who I want to talk to.
Yes.
And it takes less effort to show up aligned. Marissa was just messaging me about, the idea that alignment is part of the ease. Like the reason why some of these things feel so hard to us is because we're misaligned, black
Yes.
woman. We it's
Mhm.
hard. Like we're not built to do that. Um and I think there's something in us that knows, Marissa, but we don't know
Mhm.
what to do. And even though there's no 100% this is the path, as trailblazers on the path, we're a little bit ahead of you, okay? And if you try to make some money with something that you naturally do, with who you naturally are, right? With who you naturally are. I'm gonna get my adjectives together, okay? I serve 6'1" tall, silly, depressed women who I'm gonna get my I'm gonna get my stuff more honed in, okay, Marissa, so that I don't have to show up I don't have to talk to short people. I don't have to anyway, but yes,
Ooh.
authenticity, the more you are you, which is the okey doke of the messaging we get, which is don't be you, show up as something else. Don't be you, imitate other people. Don't be you.
Mhm.
Take on somebody else's voice. I saw a guy, this is a white man. I saw a guy on TikTok recently discovering that he was not talking with his real voice. It was the wildest thing, and I've seen a few people have that happen, and he told the story of the trauma of why his voice sounded like that. So, imagine speaking listen, if I'm being honest, you guys, this is not my authentic voice. This is my, like, Missouri voice, okay? So, basically, the guy and Imma switch so you guys can hear. So, the guy was like, when I was growing up, as my voice started to change and crack, my mother would always tell me that I was like stammering and stuttering and stop doing that.
Mm.
Like you're muttering. And so I decided to, like to get my voice to project, I started to squeeze my vocal cords when I was growing up. And it was a very like the resonance was coming this way. He sounded like this, like a
Right.
Midwestern person. The resonance is coming from
Mhm.
this part of the face. That's why I sound like this. Okay, y'all, because I'm in Missouri. That man was like, but I was talking to my partner about it recently, and he said he realized that he was squeezing his vocal cords to make this noise come out this way. And when he stopped doing it, he stopped and his voice dropped. And he was like, you guys, this is my voice when I just relax. And it was so deep and it was so nice. It was like a audiobook type of voice. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
okay. And if I'm being honest, you guys, this is how my voice sounds. Like if you want to talk to Rushni, actual Rushni voice, this is my voice. This is how I
Mhm.
talk. I'm from the Virgin Islands. I used to have me switch to this all the time. And every time I switch to this, I used to be like, oh my God, I like when I used to, I don't speak like this because I'm so sick of having people be like, why do you talk like that? Missouri. So that's the
Yes.
trauma, right? So anyway, all of that to say the same thing happens in your brand. You squeeze to like have a
Mm.
voice that's not yours. And
Mm-hmm.
then you miss the people who are like, ooh, when his voice dropped, I was like, wait a minute. Don't ever go back, sir. Relax those vocal cords. Relax. Relax those vocal cords in your brand, you guys. So anyway, all right. I can stay out here goofing off forever. I will see you guys on Saturday. Hopefully, we will have some women who are interested in joining us from Passion to Profit. The link is in the information box. Marissa, thank you so much for joining me. And
Thank you.
you guys keep healing. Be well, be encouraged. Here's a pineapple. Bye. Bye, you
Bye,
guys.
y'all. Thank you.
Uh huh.